Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Morning.
I had to break out the winter coat this morning.
I think Miles mentioned, Chair Adams, that we're waiting on a few people, but I think whenever you're ready to get started, that should be okay. But Miles just mentioned that I think a few people are still joining.
Okay, we'll give them another minute. All right, Sarah, if you're ready, we'll go ahead and welcome everybody in and do a roll call vote.
Okay.
Roll call attendance.
Yeah. Okay. Town of Ashland, Ms. Amos. Charles City County, Chair Adams.
Here.
Gary Mitchell. Chesterfield County, Mr. Banuelos.
Here.
And Ms. Smith. Goochland County, Mr. Goyne. Mr. Longerbeam. Hanover County, Mr. Vidunas.
Here.
Mr. Hardman. Henrico County, Ms. Smidler. Ms. Austin. New Kent County, Ms. Enman.
Good morning. Here.
Capital Region Airport Commission, Mr. Rutledge. Powhatan County, Mr. Webb. City of Richmond, Ms. Clark. Plan RVA, Mr. Bushing.
Here.
And Mr. Allen. DRPT, Mr. Hudson.
Here.
Ms. Dubinsky. DRTC, Ms. Robinson. Mr. Robinson.
Here.
Ride Finders, Mr. O'Keefe.
Here.
RMTA, Ms. Simmons. VDOT, Ms. Sidemock.
Here.
And Mr. Scheid. Okay, let me just double check that we have a quorum.
Yes, please.
Yes, we do have a quorum. We have 9 of 16.
Thank you, Ms. Cruz. If we would just consider if there's any amendments to today's agenda, if there's any questions, comments, concerns to amend the agenda for today.
Nothing from staff today, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Bushing. If there's no opposition, we'll go ahead and proceed with the agenda as presented. And we will look at item number 4, approval of the October 14th minutes. Any corrections, comments, concerns about the minutes, or a motion to approve the minutes as presented?
John O'Keefe, I'll make a motion to approve the meeting minutes for October.
Thank you, John. Do we have a second?
This is JJ. I'll second.
Thank you, JJ. All those in favor of approving the minutes from October 14th, say aye.
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 Anyone opposed? Very well, the minutes are approved. So Sarah Keel, if we can check to see if we have any public comments online with us today, or if any of the members have any public comments. Anyone's joined in for that?
We don't have any public comments to my knowledge.
Very well. I have no chairman's report for today. Nothing new and exciting to report, really. So we'll go ahead and move on to item number 7. Ms. Will Heller will give us a action item to review for the 2024-2027 Transportation Improvement Program amendment to the Smart Scale Busy Street extension. Will, if you could give us your information on that, that'd be great.
Sure. Just let me share my screen. All right. Okay, so thank you so much, Madam Chair. The next TIP amendment I am bringing to you will add what Chesterfield is calling the Busy Street Extended project to our TIP. This project stems from its successful Smart Scale Round 6 bid submitted by Planner VA, and the amendment is being requested by VDOT. The amendment is required because the project is a new addition to our TIP. So the Busy Street Extended project aims to improve connectivity for vehicles and pedestrians in this portion of Chesterfield, and it includes the construction of new traffic signals and left turn lanes, new sidewalks, crosswalks, and bus stops, and will extend Busy Street west to connect with Grove Road. So more specifically, Busy Street will be extended to the current intersection of Murray Olds Drive and Grove Road. And then new traffic lights equipped with pedestrian signals will be installed at the Busy Street Courthouse Road intersection, and new dual northbound left turn lanes will be installed onto Courthouse Road and Murray Olds Drive. So in addition to the roadway improvements to enhance vehicular connectivity, this project also includes new sidewalks and new bus stops. The new bus stops will include a pad for boarding and alighting, benches, and trash cans, and they will be constructed near Alverser Drive and Murray Olds Drive. In addition to the construction of the new bus stops, the project also includes constructing multiple segments of 5-foot wide sidewalks with 4-foot buffers, and they will be built on the south side of Busy Street from Grove Road to Courthouse Road, on the north and south side of US 60 Midlow Turnpike, connecting the newly constructed bus stops, and then on the east side of Courthouse Road. Here we have the tip block for the project that is provided by VDOT. And our final request today is that the TAC recommend approval of the proposed TIP amendment as requested by VDOT. If anybody has any questions, I would be happy to take them. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Will. Any comments, discussion, concerns on this proposed action item? I see no hands raised or any chat. We're awful cold and quiet this morning. All right, so if there's no further discussion on the TIP amendment, then can I get a motion to approve?
Ms. Amy, I'll make a motion to approve the TIP amendment. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Inman. Is there a second?
Wood Hudson will second.
Diana.
I think we'll go ahead and go with Wood. I think Wood beat Dirona. All right, so if there are no other questions, we'll go ahead and take a vote. All those in favor say aye.
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 Anyone opposed? Very well, the action is approved. Thank you so much, everybody. Moving right along, we can go into item number 8, the Long Bridge Work Windows and Rail Service Update by VPRA. Do we have a representative to give a presentation on that?
Hello, Christine Fix here, Director of Planning from VPRA.
Good morning, thank you.
Good morning. And I will share my screen. There we are. And then now I will do our slideshow. So thank you. First, thank you for having me here. I appreciate the time. What we're doing is we are trying to construct our signature project, the Long Bridge project, which is in Northern Virginia across the Potomac. And basically, we are trying to keep service on the rail while trying to construct this bridge. And so I'm going to give some background and some overview. And you're wondering, how does it affect Richmond and the Richmond area? Well, it affects service because we're going to have some outages, and just wanted everyone in the Commonwealth and the region and affected areas to be aware. So first off, what's our Long Bridge project? Our Long Bridge project is actually several bridges. It's three. It's one across the George Washington Memorial Parkway, the Long Bridge itself across the Potomac River, three, another one across East and West Potomac Parks, and then here another one at Main Avenue. We also have pedestrian bridges. We've got retaining walls, landscape design, and the other long pedestrian bridge that we are also constructing here across, well, sorry, it would be right here across the Potomac River to better have access for pedestrians as well. So if we've got all this going on, what's the big deal? What's going on? The focus here and why we may need to disrupt service is on the Long Bridge South package. Well, let me just say, sorry, the Long Bridge South package, we're building the new two-track structure over the Potomac. And believe it or not, that's the easy part of the project. The harder part of the project is here. When we cross the river and go into DC, we've come down from the two separate bridges into one large four-track structure. And so while we're building this structure, we have to either slow traffic or halt traffic in the rail corridor for safety of the workers as well as any rail trains coming through. So how does this impact everything? One, our objective is to develop a service plan to facilitate a construction work window for up to 5 years. And we'd like to begin in January 26. We want to try and maintain the maximum service for Amtrak, VRE, and CSX all together. And we're trying to also maximize construction work window productivity, because going through and halting trains for an hour for construction and then opening it back up for construction for trains to pass is not efficient. Crews need time to mobilize, demobilize all in a small amount of time, and it really just doesn't help to get the work done. So we're trying to maximize and grab a large chunk of time so we can have up to 5 hours of construction work at once. We also have some constraints in the area. The DC noise and vibration laws really restrict major construction work to daytime hours. So that's the height of our service as well. So we are looking at VRE AM and PM peak times because that's the highest riderships of the day. We're also trying to coordinate with projects that are happening in the NEC area, the Northeast Corridor and Washington Union Station. And we found that Washington Union Station is most congested in the afternoon. So we're trying to balance all of this together. And we've come up with, we hope, a good solution that all of our partners can live with. And again, I'll say nothing is ideal. It's the least bad option we've got. So here's our current service. This is a lot going on. One, we've got a lot of these passenger trains here in the morning, peak, again, the VRE peak periods. We have a little lull here. We have some other CSX and freight trains coming through, as well as long distance trains rolling through. And then again, you'll see this cluster down here in the evening, again, VRE peak periods, as well as Amtrak peak periods. So this is what we're trying to do. And we're trying to find the sweet spot to be able to do some construction. So, and to add on those noise and vibration limits, we've got to be within this time frame for construction. So it's not like we can go over here and start construction here overnight because of those noise limitations in DC. So what have we thought about? It looked like this area from 8:15 to 1 p.m. was the least bad. We've identified when we could carve out some existing service and maybe shift some of these trains around. So what we thought about was we're going to shift some folks around and deadhead at certain areas. So what we've got here, this work window is where construction will be what we call fouling the track, which means that either people or equipment are in the track envelope. And for everyone's safety, we do not want to have any people or equipment in that area. So we're going to close off for service and make sure everyone is safe. So what we've proposed is on weekdays to have some trains from VRE as well as Amtrak do a short turn and stop at Alexandria. Those folks on VRE can then get onto Metro. There's a Metro train there and continue their journey into DC. Not ideal, again, but least bad. We're also going to look at buses for these trains here from Norfolk and Newport News to kind of just bypass. What we're going to do is we'll have service from Norfolk and Newport News. It's going to be an express service. It will stop in Williamsburg to capture the peninsula and then roll on through, and we'll stop, I think, stop at Main Street Station as well. But then from Richmond straight up 95, utilizing the express lanes on 95 to just keep service. Again, not ideal, but we're trying to give our riders an option should they need that time frame. So that's, again, the least bad on the weekday. And I forgot to mention here, the last trains that we want will be ending at 8:15, and again here in the 1 p.m. 1:30 time frame. And again, it's critical that the construction teams themselves get off the tracks so the rest of the trains can roll through beginning right at 1 p.m. So what is the freight operations? Not to leave our partners at CSX out. They have identified that they could move this train here back a couple of hours, and we appreciate their time to move these trains a little further back in their schedule. And I failed to mention, we will also be taking into account our peak ridership as well as CSX's peak performance for intermodal and freight train distribution happens in November and December. So we are going to limit this operation. We're not going to have that during November and December for our peak ridership and their peak ridership at the holidays. So we've negotiated all of this, and now we're going to look at Saturday service. What does the weekend look like? Again, it's a little more spread out, not as much because VRE is not running at that time. So it's not as critical, but we're going to still try and maintain this the same time frame. So it'll be at least consistent for both weekday and weekend service. Again, we're shifting all of these around. We're going to have the trains temporarily replaced by buses. We're moving these freight trains as well to a later time frame. So this is a lot going on. We have a lot of construction happening, and we would like to keep Well, we need to keep service running throughout our construction. And this in 2027 is going to be our major construction. We are going to have several projects all in the construction cycle at once. So we're hoping that while having these outages, it will also benefit these other projects that we have going on in the corridor as well. But again, we want to keep service running. So what have we been doing? On the back end, we are trying to protect our operations throughout the construction window. We're going to monitor this. It's going to be dynamic, and we're going to have to coordinate with our partners, CSX, VRE, Amtrak, all throughout this time frame. And what if this plan doesn't work, our least bad plan? Well, again, we're going to monitor. We've got a committee that's come together, and they are meeting all the time. They're even still meeting today to shift things around in case we need a few extra minutes here or there, and working with our construction crews as well to understand how everybody needs time on the track, and we're going to try and optimize that. And let's just say there's going to be impacts to everyone. So we're trying to spread the impact and make it, again, least bad. So today, this is going to be temporary pain for future gain. Today, we've got a lot of service happening. We've got 2 routes from Newport News on the peninsula going to DC. We've got 3 from Norfolk heading to DC. And then we've got 1 route that starts in Richmond at Main Street Station. And then, of course, we have our other service to the west, Roanoke service, 2 round trip services a day. So what will our construction phase looks like? This is what it looks like. We're going to limit the Norfolk service to 2 trains, but we're going to have that bus service during those same peak time frames. And again, with Newport News, we're going to limit to 2 trains with the bus service to come through. We are also removing the 1 Richmond train, but Richmond still has service. Don't worry, because these other 4 trains 2 from Norfolk and 2 Newport News will run through Richmond and pick up and carry on. So this is what we want our service to be when the Long Bridge is completed. We'll retain those, put back in service those 3 trains from Newport News, the 3 trains from Norfolk, and bring back our Richmond train from Main Street Station. Again, we'll have our full suite of services. And then once we construct all of our projects through phases 1 and 2, we are going to turn on a lot of service. It's going to be very exciting. We'll have, again, the 3 trains from the peninsula, 3 trains from Norfolk, and then we are able to turn on not 1, but 5 trains from Richmond Main Street Station. And that will put us at nearly hourly service during the daytime hours from Richmond north to DC. So we're very excited. And again, this short-term pain will be a long-term win for us in the future. So why am I here? Again, I'm just trying to get the word out to our partners and to local governments. We're doing this to other MPOs in the region. We're also to the public. On our website, we have videos, we have informational web pages and websites to talk about all of these changes. And we're going to just keep getting the word out there, and just bear with us from January 26th through 2030. We are going to have a lot of construction going on. So that is everything. I know it's a lot of information thrown at you, but happy to take any questions anyone has.
Thank you for your presentation, Christine. Appreciate it. That's a
Sure.
big undertaking. And I myself have traveled to DC, and I know what kind of congestion is right there on the rail. I know it's not going to be an easy construction project, but the goal in mind, getting 5 trains out of Richmond is going to make Virginia very happy. I think, add to our economic impact to the area, to moving people around by rail. Any questions, thoughts from the localities and the agencies?
I can't get my hand up, but hi, Christine, it's Amy, and then how are you?
Hey, doing well. Good to
Good.
see you.
So good to see you. So the Norfolk service, the AM trains that come up, what's the current ridership? Do you know?
Oh, not off the top of my head. I can
just
pull it up. We do have good ridership. I we are concerned about ridership
Yeah,
potentially going down during this time frame. We are.
impact the ridership. I mean, obviously, but long term, even beyond 2030, people are going to stop taking. I mean, there's nothing you can do about it, right? But I'm just
Right.
wondering, the bus that's coming up out of Norfolk, it's going to go to Newport News, and then so you're going to combine those trips up to DC. That's going to be a very long trip. Plus, you're going to be stopping at, I guess, Main Street and Staples Mill. Main
Let me
Street.
make sure I have that right. Making sure they will not stop at Staples Mill.
Okay, so
They're just going to roll through. So we're trying to again minimize the stoppage for them because we know it's going to be a long trip. So just again trying to minimize that time on the bus.
and that could potentially be a 4-hour trip.
Correct.
I mean, so are people gonna have
It's-
I don't know, but anyway, I just see there's gonna be a lot of issues with that. But hopefully it will help some, and at least you'll have the return trains. I didn't quite get the schedule for the return trips, but the return trips seem like they're gonna be stable.
Yes, they're more stable than it's mainly, let me look at my guideline. Yeah, we're still good on the return trips.
Return
It's
trips.
those kind of early, by the time the
Just
trains in the morning come through at DC is that sweet, unfortunately, that work window time.
Right.
So again, trying to shift some trains and then replace with bus service and then keeping the afternoon trains rolling through.
I mean, I'm sure you have all the information. I think it would just be interesting for historic purposes down the road to know what the travel trips were today versus what they might be in the future, to know what kind of trips you're actually targeting. And are these commuter trips or are they recreation trips? I think that would be really interesting information to have.
Okay.
I mean, just because everybody works so hard to get the Norfolk and especially the Norfolk trains in, right? I mean, that was a major initiative that took place several years ago, and I would just hate for that to be impacted long term. It's going to, right? Everybody's going to, but we see those Roanoke trains coming up, which, I guess they've been in for a little while, but
So I'll make a note of that to try and understand.
other.
Oh,
Yeah, I'm sorry, with other Amtrak's or not
Right.
not yeah, right, because aren't there, I guess there aren't long interstate trips coming through.
No, there are not. It's just the state supported service from Roanoke to DC. There's no long distance service. We are affecting several long distance trains too. The Carolinian and the Palmetto, they're shifting time. We are working with Amtrak on keeping those at least, if it's not an optimal time, at least on a reasonable schedule.
All right. well, don't impact the excursion trains coming out of Stanton, okay? That would not be
Oh,
good.
no, not at all.
Yeah, and the 611 was amazing. So I really enjoyed that trip today, this fall. This run.
Excellent. I just went to Stanton this weekend and rode the Virginia Scenic Railway. That was very fun. So again, that'll be my plug for the Virginia Scenic Railway if anyone wants to check that out. It's a great trip.
Everybody needs to do it. So anyway, thanks,
Yeah.
Chris. I'm glad you're there.
Thank you. Appreciate it. And we'll keep everyone up to date. Like I said, we've got a public awareness campaign that we're doing. And as things change, you may see me again to come back to this group.
Good luck. Major project.
Thank you.
Kudos
It's
to
huge.
everybody. Oh, and then you've got John. He'll come in and help.
Yeah. Hey, Christine, I'm John O'Keefe with
Hello.
Ride Finders, and I know Amy was talking about the Newport News route,
Mhm.
and y'all are doing buses from Newport News to DC, but I know um, Traffics, formerly Traffics, now Go
Oh,
Commute with
right.
HRT. They at one time had van pools coming from the Newport News area going to DC daily, like to the Pentagon or the Navy Yard or places like that. And we've also had those in the past as well. So if there's any
Okay.
opportunities maybe for van pools versus buses, it might be a little bit of a cheaper option. But definitely reach out to Go Commute, the TDM program down there, or feel
Okay.
free to reach out to me at Ride Finders, and I'll be glad to put you in touch with anybody.
Excellent. That is a great idea to partner and at least get the word out to folks that there are other options out there for sure. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah, there's been, we've definitely had them in the past, and it's surprisingly how many we've had coming from the Norfolk Newport News area to DC daily. But
Okay.
those van pools do exist. So.
Alrighty. Good. And we've had some questions about what might the cost be for the buses. Um, our assumption is that they'll be cheaper because demand will go down because a lot of people want to ride the train, and if that's their preferred method, they're going to want to stick with it. Um, so that's our assumption. But like the airlines, Amtrak pricing is dynamic and it fluctuates based on ridership demand.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. If there's anything I can do to help you, please feel free to reach out.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, any other questions for Christine or comments? I know it's gonna be challenging. Very well then.
Thank you again.
Thank you for coming. Yes, so moving on to item 9, we'll go ahead and take a look at our safety plan update with Dan Mata. Good morning, Dan.
Good morning. All right. Okay. Thank you. Good morning, everyone. Today, I just wanted to walk through the draft regional high injury network and the methodology behind it. And as a reminder, this is one of the main components of the safety plan update. And it's also the foundation for how we'll structure our long-term safety program after going forward as a region. And the focus is on creating a clear data-driven process for identifying the corridors. So, and making sure that this work gives every locality something actionable for planning and future grant opportunities. So the purpose today, like I mentioned, is just to share the updated regional high injury network in draft form right now, explain the new approach, and talk through how this fits into the broader goals of the safety plan update. I'm also hoping to get your feedback at the end on a few key decisions like how we handle corridor continuity, and I'll get into that a little bit more, and just how this connects to the work that you're doing locally. It'll just help refine the final version before it gets shared with the public and goes in the draft safety plan. So, as I mentioned, the high entry network is one of the core elements of the safety plan. Obviously, tells us where the region's most serious crashes are concentrated. So the previous version from the 2022 plan did it had kind of a broad, a bit of a, in some ways, subjective way of choosing the high entry network, and it also often flagged longer entire sections of roadways um, because maybe one part of that roadway had a high number of crashes on it. So we're trying something a little bit different this time and taking more of kind of a rigorous methodological approach to it. Um, Hopefully one that we can easily duplicate or replicate in the future as new data comes along. And the goal here is consistency. We're trying to integrate the work on high entry networks that have been accomplished by Richmond, Henrico, and Chesterfield, but also placing everything into one regional framework that works across all the localities in the region. And this will also inform our uh, kind of the next step in the phase, which is looking at regional safety corridors, and then this will become a basis for future road safety analysis or uh, corridor studies and preparing applications for future funding. So the goals here are pretty straightforward. Just clearly identify where the corridors are that have the highest amount of fatal and severe injury crashes. We wanted to focus limited resources on the small share of roads where the greatest harm occurs, um, and having these corridors be the starting point for the roadway safety assessments that I mentioned that we'll conduct towards the end of this plan and in the future. And those RSAs will also dig into the crash profiles along each of the regional corridors and help shape future projects as well. So getting into the methodology here, I'll try to go over this step by step, and we'll also share the kind of the more full document that goes over step by step the methodology, so you can look at that as well later. But for this methodology, we're trying to develop a clear step-by-step process that can be replicated. So the first thing that we did is remove interstates and principal expressways from the road network that we've defined for the high entry network. Also, obviously important for regional reporting, but not really places where we felt the localities can have larger influence on the design or operations. So they'll just kind of sit outside of the high entry network. But everything else, arterials, collectors, and even local roads, we included in the road network. So from there, we combined the crash data with the roadway network and linked every crash to the nearest road segment, and that gave us kind of the clear foundation where every crash is tied to a specific place on the network. Then we divided the entire system into 10th mile pieces. It says should be 10th mile segments. And that helped create a consistent grid for the entire network and allowed us to work across all 9 localities. After that, each crash gets a severity weight so that the most serious outcomes carry the most influence. That score is in more detail in the methodology document that we'll be sharing later. When we added those up on each of the 10th mile segments, we got a picture of where the highest levels of harm are happening. This is where we applied the sliding half-mile window along every corridor. So instead of looking at isolated points, this showed us how we can see crashes cluster along specific stretches of roadways. So each of those half-mile windows gets a combined severity score based on the score from step 5. Then we rank all of those windows and select the ones that together account for severity for 70% of all fatal and serious injury crashes on the eligible network. And that threshold is consistent with what we've seen in other models, and kind of helps keep the network more focused while still capturing most of the harm. After that, we looked at the gaps. So if like two high injury segments are separated by a short distance, we bridge that gap so the final map shows more of a continuous corridor, and kind of turns more of the scatter shot pattern into something that's a little bit more easily understood and acted upon in future projects. And then finally, we just removed any of like the much more shorter isolated pieces that don't really function in corridors or as in the regional scale in general, but they're still kept in the data set for local use and understanding. But without those, the results are more of a clear, readable network that reflects underlying data and supports the next stages of the safety work. So that is a quick rundown of the methodology, and happy to go into that a little bit more later. But so here's just a screenshot of the draft high injury network of what it looks like so far. So on the top right, you can see that the individual half-mile windows that rise to the top when we rank them by severity. Little scatter shot as you see, each red mark represents a segment of the roadway with an elevated concentration of the fatal and severe injury crashes. And then on the bottom right, you can see how those individual pieces come together once we bridged the small gaps to form more continuous corridors. And this gives kind of much more of an intuitive picture of the network and something that aligns more with how people understand their experience on the roadway system. So as I mentioned, this still in draft form, this is kind of like version 2 or so of the draft high injury network. And so some of the segments are will likely change based on some of the issues that we found in the underlying data, but it's starting to form more of a clear picture. As for the routes on the map below, that's kind of the next step that gets into more of the regional corridor studies that we'll be doing, and then building into the RSAs. But just really quickly, essentially how we got those routes are if 3 or more total miles of the high injury network segments on the top map are within a specific route in like the route numbering system, that entire route will be included as a high injury network route. We're still kind of working on the terminology here too. So if 3 miles or more are on that route, or if 20% or more of the route's total miles are in the final network, the route will be flagged entirely. So that's just kind of where the segments kind of fit into the overall high injury routes themselves. So that's still kind of in production, and one of the things that we're hoping to get your feedback a little bit more today. So with all that said, just wrapping up a little bit. So that a few key takeaways stands out. Obviously, a small share of the roadway system accounts for most of the region's serious crashes. Many of these corridors cross jurisdictional boundaries, so that shows why the this need is regional. And because this method that we're working on is script-based and fully documented this time, we'll be able to easily replicate it and reproduce it in the future as new data comes in. So next steps here, if we could have just a discussion today about what we discussed and the methodology, and I'd love to hear your feedback on this, and so we can finalize the high injury network methodology and map and incorporate it into the final or the draft safety plan. Like I mentioned, we'll be sharing the full methodology breakdown with you after the meeting, along with a link to the map, so you can look at it in your own time and check out your own localities. But also we'll be preparing an online interactive map and dashboard so the staff and the public in the future can explore this data more easily as well. But this, as I mentioned, will be feeding into the regional safety corridors and then the RSAs in the future. So to close out, would just love to hear your thoughts on the draft so far. But just to get started, here's some questions that I had, and I can share these with you as well when we share the methodology and map. But yeah, does this generally align with what you see on the ground? Any of the corridors on the map presented in a way that can be adjusted, or yeah, if any of the corridors strike you as the most logical priorities for upcoming road safety assessments. Love to hear about that.
Thank you, Dan. Yes, any any comments from the committee on, some of these crash data information or these areas that Dan has mapped out? Hopefully we'll be able to look at some of those interactive maps online and check out our own localities. But I've got some new information from a 106 corridor study that has some crash data, so I might be sharing that with you, Dan, and make sure that's updated in your maps as well. So for my own locality, but anyone else would like to comment to Dan on anything that they've seen today?
This is Amy. Sorry, I can't figure out the
Amy.
function. Hi. Hey Dan, thanks. I think I've made this comment before. But the corridors, I mean, obviously that's it's a logical thing to look at, right? But some of these corridors, like 95, parts of 60, parts of these, major highways, I think there will be some good strategies that will come out of this. But I also think that if we're looking at other modes, I mean, if we're looking at all modes of transportation, and we start to look at maybe the pedestrians and cyclists, that probably isn't going to be occurring on these major corridors that I'm seeing. Now, when I get the interactive map, I might be able to zoom in a little bit more and understand how it's really, looking at the local roadways, right? And I mean, the region is more than just highways, and so we need to be thinking about those local roads and safety there, especially from the cyclist and pedestrian perspective. I mean, we've had some very unfortunate accidents recently. Now, some of those were on, highway, major road, right? But a lot of them are not. And to make the roadways much safer for people, I mean, even the connections on the Fall Line Trail. I mean, to make sure that connection, I haven't ridden it yet because of my knee injury, but I have heard that it's a little challenging to navigate on Woodman off of the Fall Line. So I don't know what that's all about. Because again, I haven't been there. I've just been hearing about it. So things like that, I think we really need to look at from a safety perspective to make these networks that we're investing in as safe as they possibly can be, not just where we're terminating out a roundabout and, good luck getting through here, right? That's not acceptable. So I think that this safety and, and if we're thinking about Vision Zero and, no fatalities, no major incidents, which I think should be the goal now, not into 30 years from now, but now, then we need to put those strategies into place as we're constructing these facilities and as we're making the $1 billion of investment that now we're bringing from CBTA. Right. So we need to bring these plans together so that it's meaningful for the people that actually use them. And we also need to get the messaging out, because this isn't just about infrastructure recommendations, but we're also talking about communication strategies too, correct? So I think we need to be thinking about that, and how are we messaging out about, safe streets for all, okay? Bicyclists can share the road. You know, I think getting the message out in an easy way about the laws of passing cyclists. It's no longer just the 3 feet. I mean, you have to literally move over into the other lane as long as there's, oncoming traffic. But, there are new laws that people probably are not aware of, that we need to be communicating out about. And I think we should be working with DMV to make sure that those things are part of their education. And maybe they are, and we don't know it, or I don't know it. But anyway, I think there are other things here that we can really bring forward as part of this effort, other than just corridors and the safety issues with that. Thank you. Sorry for being so long-winded.
All very good points, Amy. You're hearing on the news that, bicyclists are getting hit in bus lanes in Richmond and things like that. So, how do we consider all movement on the smaller roads as well? So,
yeah, and I don't want to make it about, that or the buses, right? It's everywhere. And, kids are being hit, trying to get to school. It's just unacceptable all the way around. So I'm not focusing on the incident that happened. I mean, obviously that was not good, but there was also someone, a cyclist, crossing in the road, and the vehicle didn't stop or pay attention and hit the cyclist. And I think that was a fatality, right? So that had nothing to do with the bus. But there are these other accidents that are happening because people aren't slowing down nor having respect for other modes of transportation, which are cycling and walking. And for some people, that's all they have, right? So we have to be mindful of that. Thank you. I'm going to stop now. Thank you.
Yeah, we appreciate your insights. Yeah. And I see it myself that, drivers are not yielding to pedestrians, and that is a law now too. So I agree with Amy. We need to do a better job of educating our driving public on what some of the rules of the roads are. So very good information.
Hey, Sherry.
Yes.
This is Joe.
Yes, Joe.
I can't find the raise my hand button for some reason, but if I could just chime in, maybe echo a little bit of what Amy was saying. I think that education definitely needs to be a big part of this. One example where I think the educational campaign has been very successful has been to move over when you see an incident on the shoulder involving rescue folks. I see really high conformance just in my experience with that. And so you didn't see that several years ago. So that public campaign really made a difference. The other things that I see where I think there are opportunities are just education in terms of walkers, pedestrians that are walking with their backs to traffic or walking without. I'm not picking on pedestrians, but I see some behaviors that are really dangerous. Okay. And that's one of them, we know what they all are, with dark colored clothing at night, not having lights, headphones, all of those things. You kind of see it with bikes too. There's other things there. Definitely see it with drivers. I see that behavior. The last thing that I'll mention that I think I really don't know what the solution is, but the law regarding yielding to pedestrians and crosswalks is extremely, or stopping is extremely confusing. So what does that mean? At the literal term is stop for a pedestrian in a crosswalk. Well, is a pedestrian standing on the curb? Are they in the crosswalk at that point? And I see drivers, myself included, that are conflicted, sometimes wanting to stop when you see somebody wanting to enter, and other times going, well, no, they're not in the crosswalk. Okay. And I don't know. It's something that is that's confusing. And so this whole area of education, I think, can be effective, but it's got to be a concerted effort. And again, I point to the move over as a successful example of that. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Joe. Good information. Yep.
I think on my end, it might just be helpful, and this is Naomi with VDOT. It might just be helpful to get a closer look at the map that you were sharing so I can get better feedback to you. I also saw on a previous slide, and I'm not sure if you still are looking for that feedback on weighting and so forth. Are you going to be looking for feedback from us on how to go about that? And if so, if we can get more information on what specifically you're looking for too.
Yeah, yes, I'll share that with the questions after the meeting. But yeah, on the methodology, we'll cover all the weighting and stuff in more detail.
Awesome.
Thanks, Naomi. Anyone else? All right, well, moving on, we'll go ahead and do our transportation agencies updates, and go ahead, Naomi. Oh, we're supposed to do Wood Hudson first. I'm sorry. We follow my own agenda.
That is fine. That is fine.
Thanks, Wood.
I have two quick updates for the board. The first one being that we are hosting our annual grantee webinar tomorrow at 11. This is aimed at the transit agencies and then MPOs that might be interested in applying for any of our special programs. So we have that webinar, and that kind of tees things up for our annual grants application cycle, which begins in December and then ends February 1st. Additionally, we have some other webinars coming up. These webinars are focused on things including our 5310 program. I believe that webinar is actually happening right now. And then we have a webinar for our CAP, which is our Commuter Assistance Program, happening tomorrow. And I believe that one is at 10 a.m. So if folks are in the know on those, they've probably already signed up. Additionally, Smart Scale being right around the corner, we're continuing to ask people that if they need technical assistance related to transit applications or transit elements of applications, please reach out to us. We are available to collaborate and engage on those projects and provide technical assistance as needed. We also have the Chisholm Plan, which is our Coordinated Human Service Mobility Plan. That is being wrapped up at the right now as we speak. We have a website available that's linked from the DRPT homepage that provides some updated information on that planning effort. That's a statewide planning effort that we have to do as a requirement. Additionally, there is an FRA Notice of Funding Opportunity for federal state partnerships for intercity passenger rail out. If people are interested in that program or have questions, we are directing those to our rail team. Those applications are due January 7th, and Taylor Holden is the primary contact on those. Additionally, we are waiting on final signature by FTA on our contracts for the federal fiscal for FY26 5303 funding, and we are being told that any day now those should be signed, and we should be getting contracts out to the MPOs and getting those executed so we can begin reimbursement processes and web grants. That's what I have for updates today. Happy to take questions.
Thank you, Wood. Any questions for Wood?
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, then moving on, we'll see if we have Corey Robinson with GRTC online with us today to provide an update.
Yes, I'm here.
Hi, Corey.
Good morning, everybody. Just a few short updates today. GRTC successfully launched the Broad Rock Link Microtransit Zone last month. The team has been conducting targeted outreach in the zone to inform residents about the new zero fare on-demand service. GRTC is also preparing for the replacement of the Route 88 with the Broad Rock Link Zone starting in early next year. Outreach and rider communication will continue throughout the transition period to make sure riders are supported and informed. Meanwhile, our efforts to improve bus stops across the Richmond region continues. System-wide, GRTC has 368 stops with benches at them, 106 with shelters at them, and 1,151 without amenities currently. This year, 31 stops were improved upon, and 22 additional installations are approved and are moving into the construction phase now. GRTC's ETI plan identifies gaps in comfort and ADA access and uses an equity-based scoring system to prioritize high need stops. And the agency continues to advance zero fare through the Transit Access Partnership. Last month, staff participated in an employee ride challenge that encouraged taking the bus to work and helped highlight rider stories and TAP program benefits. The effort also generated early fundraising support for sustaining fare-free access. We are planning another TAP event in January to build on this momentum and continue growing community awareness and partner engagement. And that wraps up the agency update for GRTC this month. I can field any questions if anybody has any.
Thank you for your presentation, Corey. Certainly getting those zero fares are helping the people on the GRTC bus routes. So we really appreciate your efforts to continue to fund that. Without further ado, we'll get an update from John O'Keefe with Ride Finders.
Good morning. Thank you, Madam Chair. I'll try to be brief. I did hold a virtual meeting with the Walgreens Fulfillment Center in Hanover County and kind of reviewed their employee density plot map survey of all their employees going to that location, working with them on the coordination of van pools. We also participated in the VDOT Transportation Benefits Fair last month, supporting the agency's relocation efforts now to Hanover County. We provided carpooling and van pooling information and assisted 44 attendees with commuter solutions. We also assisted GRTC's planning and scheduling department with the distribution of the public timetables, which are the bus schedules, to area businesses and community organizations and libraries. As Corey mentioned earlier, we also participated in supporting the GRTC at TAP events last month at the Downtown Transfer Plaza, as well as the Southside Plaza. And we also created and launched the Spread the Word, Win the Reward contest for employee transportation coordinators to help us grow our Greener Moves newsletter subscriptions. And this contest runs from October 14th to November 11th. With that concludes my report, Madam Chair, and I'll be glad to answer any questions anybody has.
Thank you, John. Appreciate the update.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, if there are any questions for John, we'll go ahead and get an update from Naomi from VDOT.
Thank you all. I have a few updates from the Commonwealth Transportation Board meeting that happened this month, last week. So a few things to update. So there were a few 6-year improvement program transfers. One that required approval was for Boulevard project. It is an SGR state of good repair paving project. So more money was put on that, $264,000. And so that was approved by the Commonwealth Transportation Board. There are a few other movements of money, but they didn't require CTB approval, but they were on the agenda just to be acknowledged and there for review. And then let's see, for regulations governing relocation assistance, the CTB, the Commonwealth Transportation Board, took action to make edits to that document. So they're going to be moving forward with that. One of the biggest things on the agenda that I'm sure many of you are aware of, the Commonwealth Transportation Board, they did acknowledge that they did have additional funding that they didn't anticipate, $103.5 million in revenue for let's see, their priority transportation funds. So they took that as well as other funding, and they put it on some additional projects that were submitted for Smart Scale and some other projects as well. So Route 288 southbound hard shoulder running lane, Goochland project that got funded. One of the short pump area improvements, I-64 at Gayton Road, diverging Diamond Interchange, Henrico County, that got funded. East Parham Road improvements from I-95 to Cleveland Street in Henrico, that got funded as well. And then we also had two more. Port of Virginia interchange at Commerce Road Streetscape project in Richmond, and then the Meadowville project as well in Chesterfield. So a lot of projects that were funded in Richmond District, which is great to hear for that additional funding that came out. So that was voted on, that was approved, and those will be moving forward. We'll be creating schedules, we have estimates for them and everything. So let's see what else I want to share on that. I think that's the biggest note from the Commonwealth Transportation Board meeting. Some other things I want to note, though, from the Richmond District standpoint. So the Richmond TPO did reach out to us. We're going to help take a look at some of those congestion mitigation and air quality applications, as well as surface transportation block grant applications. We'll be looking at those in terms of cost estimate and schedule to make sure those make sense. And so we'll be finishing our review by December 12th. That's the goal. And then transportation alternatives and revenue sharing. We got a lot of applications in. The district has finished their reviews and validations for those applications. I do want to note we worked very closely with the localities for anything that had questions. Maybe a study didn't match the proposed concept. We tried to work with the locality to get revisions and updates. So for that, we did move everything forward to support that it be considered for funding. With some tweaks and revisions that we coordinated with localities. And then, of course, Smart Scale Round 7 is coming up very quickly. So we did note to everyone, if you could get to us your ideas for Smart Scale Round 7 applications by November 21st, that is the end of this week, that would be great. We're just trying to come up with our ability to provide support to localities, what that looks like. Does a study already exist? Does it need a concept, a sketch, or anything like that? So we're taking all these ideas. I think we have over 40 some ideas already submitted to us. So thanks to everyone for getting those to us, that we're going to meet in the next few weeks and start seeing what can we do to help facilitate this project. Does something need value engineering or anything like that? And then for key projects, I have no major updates on the key projects we share with you all. I think of note, the Poet Parkway project environmental impact study. It looks like there is a public hearing for one of the recommended preferred alternatives at Cosby High School on December 9th from 6 to 8 p.m. So I think that's something of note. And then we have a few trainings coming up as well. One happening this week, that's the 30% plan review training that's happening this Thursday from 1 to 3:30 p.m. at the Richmond District office. Another one of note is the value engineering training happening December 4th at the Richmond District office as well from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. That one's really important, something I'm going to be attending just to make sure we can get the smart scale applications we get to the proper level to get them funded. Do let me know if you have any questions.
Thank you, Naomi.
Of course.
Yeah, I would like to have more time to attend those training sessions, but maybe you can share the literature with me so I can just brush
Oh,
up
that
on,
sounds good.
brush
Yeah.
up on my skills for those of us who just simply cannot attend. Really appreciate those training opportunities.
Perfect.
Yeah, so if there's no further discussion there, do we have any comments from the TAC members, of course, we'll check out our Better Together Connect newsletter and any comments from the TAC members. I know we probably don't have our chat hand raised up, but feel free to speak up. Okay, if there's no comments from the members, our next meeting will be December 9th at 9 a.m. And if there's no further comments or discussions, we'll go ahead and adjourn for today. Thank you, everybody.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.